Yo. Hello, hello, hello. Testing, testing. Am I loud enough? Am I talking loud enough? Hello, testing. I'm not peeking. Holy shit. Hello, testing. Okay, there was the first hit, red. Okay. Should be fine. Okay, I'm gonna turn down the music a little bit. Fuck, how do I do that again? It's over here. Good enough? Probably, maybe. We're gonna listen to this again. Fuck yeah, best song. Okay. I was past this. The news of the event affected the buying habits not only of the onlookers but also of the women throughout the country. The story of the event was flashed to the consumer by her newspaper as well as by advertisements of her favorite store. Broadsides went to the millinery buyer from the manufacturer. One manufacturer stated that whereas before the show he had not sold any large trimmed hats, after it he sold thousands. Often, the Public Relations Council is called in to handle an emergency situation. A false rumor, for instance, may occasion an enormous loss in prestige and money if not handled promptly and effectively. An incident such as the one described in the New York American of Friday, May 21st, 1926, shows what the lack of proper technical handling of public relations might result in. $1 million lost by false rumor on Hudson stock. Hudson Motor Company stock fluctuated widely around noon yesterday, and losses estimated at $500,000 to $1 million were suffered as a result of the widespread flotation of false news regarding dividend action. This is still too loud. Fuck. It's all the way down, but whatever. The directors met in Detroit at 12:30 New York time to act on a dividend. Almost immediately, a false report that only the regular dividend had been declared was circulated. At 12:46, the Dow Jones & Co. ticker service received the report from the stock exchange firm, and its publication resulted in further drop in the stock. Shortly after 1 o'clock, the ticker services received official news that the dividend had been increased and a 20-cent per stock distribution authorized. They rushed the correct news out to their tickers, and Hudson stock immediately jumped more than 6 points. A clipping from the Journal of Commerce of April 4th, 1925 is reproduced here as an interesting example of a method to counteract a false rumor. Beechnut Head hometown guest. Bartlett Arkell, signally honored by communities of Mohawk Valley. Special to the Journal of Commerce. Cantagahari, New York, April 3rd. Today was Beechnut Day in this town, in fact, for the whole Mohawk Valley. Businessmen and practically the whole community of this region joined in a personal testimonial to Bartlett Arkell of New York City, president of the Beechnut Packing Company of the city, in honor of his firm refusal to consider selling his company to other financial interests to move elsewhere. When Mr. Arkell publicly denied recent rumors that he was to sell his company to the Postum Cereal Company for $17 million, which would have resulted in taking the industry from its birthplace, he did so in terms conspicuously loyal to his boyhood home, which he has built up into a prosperous industrial community through 30 years management of his Beechnut Company. He absolutely controls the business and flatly stated that he would never sell it during his lifetime to anyone at any price, since it would be disloyal to his friends and fellow workers. And the whole Mohawk Valley spontaneously decided that such spirit deserved public recognition. Hence, today's festivities. More than 3,000 people participated, headed by a committee comprising of W.J. Roser, Chairman, B.F. Spraker, H.V. Bush, B.F. Deffendorf, and J.H. Cook. They were backed by the Canajoharie and the Mohawk Valley Chambers of Businessmen's Associations. Of course, everyone realized after this that there was no truth in the rumor that the Beechnut Company was in the market. A denial would not have carried as much conviction. Of course. Yeah. Amusement, too, is a business, one of the largest in America. It was the amusement business, first the circus and the medicine show, then the theater, which taught the rudiments of advertising to industry and commerce. The latter adopted the ballyhoo of show business. But under the stress of practical experience, it adapted and refined these crude advertising methods to the precise ends it sought to obtain. The theater has, in its turn, learned from business and has refined its publicity methods to the point where old stentorian methods are in discard. I don't know what that means. Stentorian. Old. I'm assuming it's just old. Barbaric. Rudimentary. Whatever. To the modern publicity director of a theater syndicate or a motion picture trust is a businessman, responsible for the security of tens or hundreds of millions of dollars of invested capital. He cannot afford to be a stunt artist or a freelance adventurer in publicity. He must know his public accurately and modify its thoughts and actions by means of the methods which the amusement world has learned from its old... Sorry. I got distracted by that message. Shit. He cannot afford to be a stunt artist or a freelance adventurer in publicity. He must know his public accurately and modify its thoughts and actions by means of the methods which the amusement world has learned from its old pupil, big business. As public knowledge increases and public taste improves, business must be ready to meet them halfway. Modern business must have its finger continuously on the public pulse. It must understand the changes in the public mind and be prepared to interpret itself fairly and eloquently to changing opinion. Okay. Propaganda and Political Leadership, Chapter 6. We finally made it. we finally made it to the part of this that gets cited, that got cited in my class on digital cultures and narratives fucking years ago, which is where I got this PDF originally from. Anyway, I have all of my PDFs from college still saved. All of the books that were provided, all of the articles, everything, philosophy, psychology, all of that, a course was provided through PDFs. Both of those courses, I mean. Finally, we're on chapter 6. Yay! And then after I finish this PDF, we're going to go back to reading the Ukraine book, which is also at where I finally wanted to reach, which was the advent of the modern Russian Empire. Not modern, the 18th century, 17th century Russian Empire, leading up to the USSR. So that'll be fun. But yeah, okay, so chapter 6. The great political problem... Oh shit, what happened? My restream chat is broken? Hello? Testing. Fuck. Give me 1 second. I think it's fine now. Okay, we're gonna start this over. The great political problem in our modern democracy is how to okay. The great political problem in our modern democracy is how to induce our leaders to lead. The dogma that the voice of the people is the voice of God tends to make elected persons the will-less servants of their constituents. If only. Holy shit, if only. This is undoubtedly part cause... Phrasing. This is undoubtedly part cause of the political sterility of which certain American critics constantly complain. No serious sociologist any longer believes that the voice of the people expresses any divine or specially wise and lofty idea. The voice of the people expresses the mind of the people, and that mind is made up for it by the group leaders in whom it believes and by those persons who understand the manipulation of public opinion. God, this is going to be such a good chapter. Again, I feel like the fucking music is too loud. Give me 1 second. Fucking Tchaikovsky. Okay. Whew. No serious sociologist any longer believes that the voice of the people expresses any divine or specially wise and lofty idea. The voice of the people expresses the mind of the people, and that mind is made up for by the group leaders in whom it believes, and by those persons who understand the manipulation of public opinion. It is composed of inherited prejudices and symbols and cliches and verbal formulas supplied to them by the leaders. Fortunately, the sincere and gifted politician is able, by the instrument of propaganda, to mold and form the will of the people. Disraeli cynically expressed the dilemma when he said, "I must follow the people. I am not their leader, or am I not their leader? He might have added, I must lead the people. Am I not their servant? Unfortunately, the methods of our contemporary politicians in dealing with the public are as archaic and ineffective as the advertising methods of businesses in 1900. Drink. Start that sentence over again. Unfortunately, the methods of our contemporary politicians in dealing with the public are as archaic and ineffective as the advertising methods of business in 1900 would be today. While politics was the first important department of American life to use propaganda on a large scale, it has been the slowest in modifying its propaganda methods to meet the changed conditions of the public mind. American business first learned from politics the methods of appealing to the broad public. But it continually improved those methods in the course of its competitive struggle while politics clung to the old formulas. The political apathy of the average voter, of which we hear so much, is undoubtedly due to the fact that the politician does not know how to meet the conditions of the public mind. He cannot dramatize himself and his platform in terms which have real meaning to the public. God, fucking hell. The political apathy of the average voter, of which we hear so much, is undoubtedly due to the fact that the politician does not know how to meet the conditions of the public mind. He cannot dramatize himself and his platform in terms which have real meaning to the public. Acting on the fallacy that the leader must slavishly follow, he deprives his campaign of all dramatic interest. An automaton cannot arouse the public interest. A leader, a fighter, a dictator can. But given our present political conditions under which every office seeker must cater to the vote of the masses, the only means by which the born leader can lead is the expert use of propaganda. Whether in the problem of getting elected to office or in the problem of interpreting and popularizing new issues, or in the problem of making the day-to-day administration of public affairs a vital part of the community life, the use of propaganda, carefully adjusted to the mentality of the masses, is an essential adjunct of political life. The successful businessman today apes the politician. He has adopted the glitter and the ballyhoo of the campaign. He has set up all the sideshows. He has annual dinners that are a compendium of speeches, flags, bombast, stateliness, pseudo-democracy, slightly tinged with paternalism. On occasion, he doles out honors to employees, much as the Republic of classic times rewarded its worthy citizens. But these are merely the sideshows, the drums of big business, by which it builds up an image of public service and of honorary service. This is but one of the methods by which business stimulates loyal enthusiasms on the part of directors, the workers, the stockholders, and the consumer public. It is one of the methods by which big business performs its function of making and selling products to the public. The real work of campaign business consists of intensive study of the public, the manufacture of products based on this study, and exhaustive use of every means of reaching the public. Political campaigns today are all sideshows, all honors, all bombast, glitter, and speeches. These are for the most part unrelated to the main business of studying the public scientifically, of supplying the public with party, candidate, platform, and performance, and selling the public these ideas and products. Politics was the first big business in America. Therefore, it is a good deal of irony in the fact that business has learned everything about that politics has had to teach, but that politics has failed to learn very much from business methods of mass distribution of ideas and products. Emily Newell Blair has recounted in The Independent a typical instance of the waste of effort and money in a political campaign, a week's speaking tour in which she herself took part. She estimates that on a 5-day trip covering nearly 1,000 miles, she and the United States senator with whom she was making political speeches addressed no more than 1,105 persons whose votes might conceivably have been changed as a result of their efforts. The cost of this appeal to these voters she estimates as $15.27 for each vote, which might have been changed as a result of the campaign. This, she says, was a drive for votes, just as an Ivory soap advertising campaign is a drive for sales. But she asks, what would a company executive say to a sales manager who sent a high-priced speaker to less than 1,200 people at the cost of $15.27 for each possible buyer? She finds it amazing that the very men who make their millions out of cleverly devised drives for soap and bonds and cars will turn around and give large contributions to be expended for vote-getting in an utterly inefficient and antiquated fashion. It is indeed incomprehensible that politicians do not make use of the elaborate business methods that industry has built up. Because a politician knows political strategy, can develop campaign issues, can devise strong planks for platforms, and envisage broad policies, it does not follow that he can be given the responsibility of selling ideas to a public as large as that of the United States. The politician understands the public. He knows what the public wants and what the public will accept. But the politician is not necessarily a general sales manager, a public relations counsel, or a man who knows how to secure mass distribution of ideas. Obviously, an occasional political leader may be capable of combining every feature of leadership. Just as in business, there are certain brilliant industrial leaders who are financiers, factory directors, engineers, sales managers, and public relations counsel all rolled into one. Big business is conducted on the principle that it must prepare its policies carefully, and that in selling an idea to the large buying public of America, it must proceed according to broad plans. The political strategist must do likewise. The entire campaign should be worked out according to a broad basic... Okay. The political strategist must do likewise. The entire campaign should be worked out according to broad basic plans. Platforms, planks, pledges, budgets, activities, personalities must be carefully studied, apportioned, and used as they, and I think that apportioned, and used as they are when big business desires to get what it wants from the public. The first step in a political campaign is to determine on the objectives and to express them exceedingly well in the current form, that is, as a platform. In devising the platform, the leader should be sure that it is an honest platform. If only. Campaign pledges and promises should not be lightly considered by the public, and they ought to carry something of the guarantee principle and money-back policy that an honorable business institution carries at the sale of its goods. Warranties and whatnot. Okay. The public has lost faith in campaign promotion work. It does not say that politicians are dishonorable, but it does say that campaign pledges are written on the sand. How times have changed. How times have changed. Here, then, is one fact of public opinion of which the party that wishes to be successful might well take cognizance. Is that how they used to spell cognizance? With a Z? This is cognizance. To aid in the preparation of the platform, there should be made as nearly scientific an analysis as possible of the public and of the needs of the public. A survey of public desires and demands would come to the aid of the political strategist whose business it is to make a proposed plan of the activities of the parties and its elected officials during the coming terms of office. A big business that wants to sell a product to the public surveys and analyzes its markets before it takes a single step either to make or sell the product. If one section of the community is absolutely sold to the idea of this product, no money is wasted in reselling it to it. If, on the other hand, another section of the public is irrevocably committed to another product, no money is wasted on a lost cause. Very often, the analysis is the cause of basic changes and improvements in the product itself, as well as an index of how it is to be presented. So carefully is this analysis of markets and sales made that when a company makes out its sales budget for the year, it subdivides the circulations of the various magazines and newspapers it uses in advertising and calculates with a fair degree of accuracy how many times a section of that population is subjected to the appeal of the company. It knows approximately to what extent a national campaign duplicates and repeats the emphasis of a local campaign of selling. As in the business field, the expenses of the political campaign should be budgeted. A large business today knows exactly how much money it is going to spend on propaganda during the next year or years. It knows that a certain percentage of its gross receipts will be given over to advertising, newspaper, magazine, outdoor and poster, a certain percentage to circulation and sales promotion, such as house organs and dealer aids. And a certain percentage must go to the supervising salesmen who travel around the country to infuse extra stimulus in the local sales campaign. A political campaign should be similarly budgeted. The first question should be this. One more second. We got Fur-Elise, bruh. What? Fur-Elise. Let's go. The first question, okay. A political campaign should be similarly budgeted. The first question which should be decided is the amount of money that should be raised for the campaign. This decision can be reached by a careful analysis of campaign costs. There is enough precedent in business procedure to enable experts to work this out accurately. Then the second question of importance is the manner in which money should be raised. It is obvious that politics would gain much in prestige. It is obvious that politics would gain much in prestige if the money-raising campaign were conducted candidly and publicly, like the campaigns for the war funds, which I have no fucking idea what that means. The war funds? I'm assuming that's like just a publicly donatable fund for military stuff back in the day. I can't even imagine that in today's world. Charity drives might be made excellent models for political fund drives. The elimination of the little black bag element in politics would raise the entire prestige of politics in America, and the public interest would be infinitely greater if the actual participation occurred earlier and more constructively in the campaign. Again, as in the business field, there should be a clear decision as to how the money is to be spent. This should be done according to the most careful and exact budgeting. Wherein every step in the campaign is given its proportionate importance and the funds allotted accordingly. Advertising in newspapers and periodicals, posters and street banners, the exploitation of personalities in motion pictures, in speeches and lectures and meetings, spectacular events, and all forms of propaganda should be considered proportionately according to the budget, and should always be coordinated with the whole plan. Certain expenditures may be warranted if they represent a small proportion of the budget, and may be totally unwarranted if they make up a large proportion of the budget. In the same way, the emotions by which the public is appealed to may be a part of the broad plan of the campaign, unrelated emotions become maudlin and sentimental too easily, and are often costly and too often waste effort because the idea is not part of the conscious and coherent whole. Big business has realized that it must use as many of the basic emotions as possible. The politician, however, has used the emotions aroused by words almost exclusively. To appeal to the emotions of the public in a political campaign is sound. In fact, it is an indispensable part of the campaign. But the emotional content must coincide in every way with the broad basic plans of the campaign and all its minor details, be adapted to many groups of the public at which it is to be aimed, and conform to the media distribution of ideas. Conform to the media of the distribution of ideas. I'm assuming that means like it has to conform to newspapers and magazines in which the ideas are being stated. So if you're like advertising for a certain type of political idea, you don't want to put it in a magazine of the opposite persuasion. The emotions of oratory. God, dude, the phrasing in these are crazy. The emotions of oratory have been worn down through long years of overuse. Parades, mass meetings, and the like are successful when the public has a frenzied emotional interest in the event. The candidate who takes babies on his lap and has his photograph taken is doing a wise thing emotionally. This is Elon Musk, like literally yesterday. If this act epitomizes a definite plank in his platform. Fucking hell. Kissing babies, if it is worth anything, must be used as a symbol for a baby policy, and it must be synchronized with a plank in the platform. But the haphazard staging of emotional events without regard to their value as a part of the whole campaign is a waste of effort, just as it would be a waste of effort for the manufacturer of hockey skates to advertise a picture of a church surrounded by spring foliage. Okay. It is true that the church appeals to our religious impulses and that everybody loves the spring, but these impulses do not help us sell the idea that hockey skates are amusing, helpful, or increase the general enjoyment of life for the buyer. Present-day politics places emphasis on personality. This is 100 years ago, by the way. This is 100 fucking years ago, by the way. Can't believe it. We've been struggling for 100 years to understand how people are manipulated through propaganda, personality politics, and just fucking basic advertising. Present-day politics places emphasis on personality. An entire party, a platform, an international policy is sold to the public, or it is not sold to the public, based on the basis of the intangible element of personality. A charming candidate is the alchemist's secret that can transmute a prosaic platform into the gold of votes. Jesus. Helpful as is a candidate who, for some reason, has caught the imagination of the country. The party and its aims are certainly more important than the personality of the candidate. Not personality, but the ability of the candidate to carry out the party's program adequately, and the program itself should be emphasized in a sound campaign plan. Even Henry Ford, the most picturesque personality in business in America today, has become known through his product and not his product through him. It is essential for the campaign manager to educate the emotions in terms of groups. The public is not made up merely of Democrats and Republicans. People today are largely uninterested in politics, and their interest in the issues of the campaign must be secured by coordinating it with their personal interests. The public is made up of interlocking groups: economic, social, religious, educational, cultural, racial, collegiate, local, sports, and hundreds of others. When President Coolidge invited actors for a breakfast, he did so because he realized not only that actors were a group, but that audiences, the large group of people who like amusements, would like, or who like people who amuse them, and who like people who can be amused, ought to be aligned with him. Wow, what a what a paragraph. This is just saying, like, it's influential to have people of influence in your circle. Bringing actors might bring people that are fans of actors. The Shepherd-Towner maternity bill was passed because the people who fought to secure its passage realized that mothers made up a group, that educators made up a group, that physicians made up a group, that all these groups in turn influence other groups, and that taken altogether, these groups were sufficiently strong and numerous to impress Congress with the fact that the people at large wanted this bill to be made part of the national law. The political campaign, having defined its broad objects and its basic plans, having defined the group appeal which it must use, must carefully allocate to each of the media at hand the work which it can do with maximum efficiency. The media through which a political campaign may be brought home to the public are numerous and fairly well defined. Events and activities must be created in order to put ideas into circulation in these channels, which are as varied as the means of human communication. It's only more now. There's only a million more ways to communicate now than there was 100 years ago. Every object which presents pictures or words that the public can see, everything that presents intelligible sounds, can be utilized in one way or another. At present, the political campaigner uses for the greatest part of the radio, the press, the banquet hall, the mass meeting, the lecture platform, and the stump generally as means for furthering his ideas. But this is only a small part of what may be done. Actually, there are infinitely more varied events that can be created to dramatize the campaign and to make people talk of it. Exhibitions, contests, institutes of politics, the cooperation of educational institutions, the dramatic cooperation of groups which hitherto have not been drawn into active politics. This is the biggest thing of the last 10 years. Dramatic cooperation of groups which hitherto have not been drawn into active politics. Drawing people in through hobbies that have nothing to do with politics and making those hobbies political by nature. This is the fucking linchpin of the political movement of today. And many others may be made the vehicle for the presentation of ideas to the public. But whatever is done must be synchronized accurately with all other forms of appeal to the public. News reaches the public through the printed word. Books, magazines, letters, posters, circulars, and banners. Newspapers through pictures, photographs, motion pictures through the ear, lectures, speeches, band music, radio, campaign songs. All of these must be employed by the political party if it is to succeed. One method of appeal is merely one method of appeal, and in this age wherein 1,000 movements and ideas are competing for public attention, one dare not put all one's eggs into one basket. Oh, God, it just rings so true. It is understood that the methods of propaganda can be effective only with the voter who makes up his own mind on the basis of his group's prejudices and desires. Where specific allegiances and loyalties exist, as in the case of boss leadership, these loyalties will operate to nullify the free will of the voter. In this close relation between the boss and his constituents lies, of course, the strength of his position in politics. It is not necessary for the politician to be the slave of the group of the public. It is not necessary for the politician to be the slave of the public's group prejudices, if he can learn how to mold the mind of the voters in conformity with his own ideas of public welfare and public service. The important thing for the statesman of our age is not so much to know how to please the public, but to know how to sway the public. In theory, this education might be done by means of learned pamphlets explaining the intricacies of public questions. In actual fact, it can be done only by meeting the conditions of the public mind, by creating circumstances which set up trains of thought, by dramatizing personalities, by establishing contact with the group leaders who control the opinions of the public. But campaigning is only an incident in political life. The process of government is continuous. And the expert use of propaganda is more useful and fundamental, although less striking, as an aid to democratic administration than as to aid to vote getting. Than as an aid to vote getting. Good government can be sold to a community just as any other commodity can be sold. I often wonder whether the politicians of the future, who are responsible for maintaining the prestige and effectiveness of their party, will not endeavor to train politicians who are at the same time propagandists. Hopping through sections. Okay. I talked recently with George Olveny. He said that a certain number of Princeton men were joining Tammany Hall. If I were to... I don't know what that is. I know what Princeton is. I don't know what Tammany Hall is. If I were in his place, I should have taken some of my brightest young men and set them to work for Broadway theatrical productions, or apprenticed them as assistants to professional propagandists before recruiting them to the service of the party. One reason, perhaps, why the politician today is slow to take up methods which are commonplace in business life is that he has such ready entry to the media of communication on which his power depends. Moonlight Sonata, baby. Let's go. The newspaper man looks to him for news, and by his power of giving or withholding information, the politician can often effectively censor political news. But being dependent every day of the year and for year after year upon certain politicians for the news, the newspaper reporters are obliged to work in harmony with their news sources. The political leader must be a creator of circumstances, not only a creature of mechanical processes, of stereotyping and rubber stamping. Let us suppose that he is campaigning on a low-tariff platform. He may use the modern mechanism of the radio to spread his views, but he will almost certainly use the psychological method of approach which was old in Andrew Jackson's day, and which business has largely discarded. He will say over the radio, vote for me and low tariff, because the high tariff increases the cost of things you buy. He may, it is true, have the great advantage of being able to speak by radio directly to 50 million listeners, but he is making an old-fashioned approach. He is arguing with them. He is assaulting single-handedly the resistance of inertia. If he were a propagandist, on the other hand, although he would still use the radio, he would use it as one instrument of a well-planned strategy. Since he is campaigning on the issue of a low tariff, he not merely would tell that he would not merely tell. Come on, dude. The word ordering is fucking crazy. He not merely would tell people that fucking hell. He not merely would tell people that the high tariff increases the cost of the things they buy, but would create circumstances which would make his... Oh, God, my brain is in fucking scrambled eggs right now. Okay. He not merely would tell people that the high tariff increases the cost of the things they buy, but would create circumstances which would make his contention dramatic and self-evident. There you go. He would create circumstances which would make his contention dramatic and self-evident. Some of these things are being translated in real time in my head. Like, he would perhaps stage a low tariff exhibition simultaneously in 20 cities, with exhibits illustrating the additional cost due to the tariff in force. He would see that these exhibitions were ceremoniously inaugurated by prominent men and women who were interested in a low tariff apart from any interest in his personal political fortunes. He would have groups whose interests were especially affected by the high cost of living, institute an agitation for lower schedules. I don't know what that means. He would dramatize the issue, perhaps by having prominent men boycott woolen clothes and go to important functions in cotton suits, until the wool schedule was reduced. Oh, scheduling is the percentage of what the tariffs are. He might get the opinion of social workers as to whether the high cost of wool endangers the health of the poor in winter. In whatever ways he dramatized the issue, the attention of the public would be attracted to the question before he addressed them personally. Then, when he spoke to his millions of listeners on the radio, he would not be seeking to force an argument down the throats of a public thinking of other things and annoyed by another demand on its attention. It's funny that forcing something down someone's throat is already a turn of phrase in 100 years ago, because we still use that shit all the time now, and it's constantly true. Politicians forcing shit down our throats. He would be answering the spontaneous questions and expressing the emotional demands of a public already keyed to a certain pitch of interest in the subject. The importance of taking the entire world public into consideration before planning an important event is shown by the wise action of Thomas Masaryk, then provincial president, now president of the Republic of Czechoslovakia. Czechoslovakia officially became a free state on Monday, October 28, 1918, instead of Sunday, October 27, 1918, because Professor Masaryk realized that the people of the world would receive more information and would be more receptive to the announcement of the Republic's freedom on a Monday morning than on a Sunday, because the press would have more space to devote to it on a Monday morning. Discussing the matter with me before he made the announcement, Professor Masaryk said, I would be making history for the cables if I changed the date of the Czechoslovakia's birth as a free nation. Cables make history, and so the date was changed. This incident illustrates the importance of technique in the new propaganda. It will be objected, of course, that propaganda will tend to defeat itself as its mechanism becomes obvious to the public. If only, right? If only. My opinion is that it will not. Yeah, this guy knows what the fuck he's talking about. Propaganda will tend to defeat itself as its mechanism becomes obvious to the public. That's very, that's like a one-to-one thought process that people still have today. I know how propaganda works, therefore I'm immune to propaganda. That's fundamentally just not true. Nobody's immune to propaganda. That's not how that works. Propaganda works by engulfing you in a system of thought, and then your thoughts are then a result of the propaganda that has already taken effect. So just knowing that propaganda exists does not make you immune to propaganda, or even knowing the intricacies of propaganda doesn't make you immune to propaganda. There's a very, very deep epistemic reality that you have to confront if you want to try to get around propaganda, and that still doesn't make you immune to propaganda. The only propaganda which will ever tend to weaken itself as the world becomes more sophisticated and intelligent is propaganda that is untrue or unsocial. And as things that are untrue or unsocial develop through propaganda methods will be debunked, and then people will take those into consideration when consuming information. But then the problem with that is that propaganda is iterative the same way that any sort of technology is iterative. As things get more complicated, methods of propagandizing will also get more complicated. Again, the objection is raised that propaganda is utilized to manufacture our leading political personalities. It is asked whether, in fact, the leader makes propaganda or whether propaganda makes the leader. There is a widespread impression that a good press agent can puff up a nobody into a great man. The answer is the same as that made to the old query as to whether the newspaper makes public opinion or whether public opinion makes the newspaper. There has to be fertile ground for the leader and the idea to fall on, but the leader also has to have some vital seed to sow. To use another figure, A mutual need has to exist before either can become positively effective. Propaganda is of no use to the politician unless he has something to say which the public consciously or unconsciously wants to hear. But even supporting that a certain propaganda is untrue or dishonest, we cannot, on that account, reject the methods of propaganda as such. For propaganda in some form will always be used where leaders need to appeal to their constituencies. The criticism is often made that propaganda tends to make the President of the United States so important that he becomes not the President, but the embodiment of the idea of hero worship. Not to say deity worship. So hero worship, not to say deity worship. Like in North Korea, they talk about the holiness of Kim Jong-un. I quite agree that this is so, but how are you going to stop a condition which very accurately reflects the desires of a certain part of the public? The American people rightly senses the enormous importance of the executive's office. If the public tends to make of the president a heroic symbol of power, that is not the fault of the propaganda, but lies in the very nature of the office and its relation to the people. This condition, despite its somewhat irrational puffing up of the man to fit the office, is perhaps still more sound than a condition in which the man utilizes no propaganda or a propaganda not adapted to its proper end. Note the example of the Prince of Wales. This young man reaped bales of clippings and little additional glory from his American visit. It's just newspaper bales of clippings. I'm just assuming there's a bunch of newspaper mentions. We're going to put this into the context of like modern impressions. Fucking A. Merely because he was poorly advised. To the American public, he became a well-dressed, charming, sport-loving, dancing, perhaps frivolous youth. Nothing was done to add dignity and prestige to this impression until, towards the end of his stay, he made a trip in the subway of New York. This sole venture into democracy and the serious business of living as evidenced in the daily habits of workers aroused new interest in the prince. Had he been properly advised, he would have augmented this somewhat by such serious studies of American life as were made by another prince, Gustav of Sweden. As a result of the lack of well-directed propaganda, the Prince of Wales became, in the eyes of the American people, not the thing which he constitutionally is, a symbol of the unity of the British Empire, but part and parcel of sporting Long Island and dancing beauties of the ballroom. Great Britain lost an invaluable opportunity to increase the goodwill and understanding between the two countries when it failed to understand the importance of correct public relations counsel for His Royal Highness. The public actions of America's chief executive are, if one chooses to put it that way, stage managed. This was true. This has always been true. But they are chosen to represent and dramatize the man in his function as representative of the people. A political practice which has its roots in the tendency of the popular leader to follow oftener than he leads in the technique. Okay, hold up. A political practice which has its roots in the tendency of the popular leader to follow oftener than he leads in the techniques of the trial balloon, which he uses in order to maintain, as he believes, his contact with the public. That's a weird fucking sentence. Okay. A political practice. Okay. But they are chosen. We're going to start this whole fucking paragraph over again. It's better to read it multiple times and have a better understanding of what they're trying to say. English has changed a lot in 100 years. I'll just say it like that. The public actions of America's chief executive are, if one chooses to put it that way, stage managed. But they are chosen to represent and dramatize the man in his functions as representative of the people. A political practice which has its roots in the tendency of the popular leader to follow oftener than he leads in the technique of the trial balloon, which he uses in order to maintain, as he believes, his contact with the public. That's much better. The politician, of course, has his ear to the ground. It might be called the clinical ear. It touches the ground and hears the disturbances of the political universe. But he often does not know what the disturbances mean, whether they are superficial or fundamental. So he sends up his balloon. He may send out an anonymous interview through the press. He then waits for reverberations to come from the public, a public which expresses itself in mass meetings or resolutions or telegrams or even such obvious manifestations as editorials in the partisan or nonpartisan press. On the basis of I think it's kind of important to put this on screen. It's just 1928. Because so much of this is so relevant today. I'm going to reread this and take better notes, but I'm just reading it out loud now for the first pass through. I haven't even seen this chapter in 3 years. Okay. Partisan, nonpartisan press. On the basis of these repercussions, he then publicly adopts his original tentative policy, or rejects it, or modifies it to conform to the sum of public opinion which has reached him. This method is modeled on the peace feelers which were used during the war to sound out the disposition. Okay. This method is modeled on the peace feelers which were used during the war to sound out the disposition of the enemy to make peace or to test any one of a dozen other popular tendencies. It is the method commonly used by a politician before committing himself to legislation of any kind, and by a government before committing itself on foreign or domestic policies. It is a method which has little justification. If a politician is a real leader, he will be able, by the skillful use of propaganda, to lead the people, instead of following the people by means of clumsy instrument of trial and error. The propagandist approach is the exact opposite of that of the politician just described. The whole basis of successful propaganda is to have an objective and then to endeavor to arrive at it through an exact knowledge of the public and modifying circumstances to manipulate and sway that public. The function of a statesman, says George Bernard Shaw, is to express the will of the people in the way of a scientist. The political leader of today should be a leader as finely versed in the technique of propaganda as a political economy and civics. As in political economy and civics. He's pretty much saying that propaganda is just as important as knowing the law or knowing any sort of functional reality of politics. If he remains merely the reflection of the average intelligence of his community, he might as well go out of politics. If one is dealing with a democracy in which the herd and the group follow those whom they recognize as leaders, why should not the young men training for leadership be trained in its technique as well as in its idealism? Again, this is knowing the function and the daily lives of young men is more important than knowing just political philosophy. Or just as important, I guess. When the interval between the intellectual classes and the practical classes is too great, says historian Buckle, the former will possess no influence and the latter will reap no benefits. Shit. Propaganda bridges this interval in our modern, complex civilization. Only through the wise use of propaganda will our government, considered as the continuous administrative organ of the people, be able to maintain that intimate relationship with the public which is necessary in a democracy. As David Lawrence pointed out in a recent speech, there is need for an intelligent interpretative fucking hell. Okay, we're going to do that sentence again. Woo. Okay. As David Lawrence pointed out in a recent speech, there is need for an intelligent interpretative bureau for our government in Washington. There is, it is true, a division of current information in the Department of State, which at first was headed by a trained newspaperman. But later, his position began to be filled by men from the diplomatic service, men who had very little knowledge of the public. While some of these diplomats have done very well, Mr. Lawrence asserted that in the long run, the country would be benefited if the functions of this office were in the hands of different types of people, or a different type of person. There should, I believe, be an Assistant Secretary of State who is familiar with the problem of dispensing information to the press. Someone upon whom the Secretary of State can call for a consultation and who has sufficient authority to persuade the Secretary of State to make public that which, for insufficient reason, is suppressed. The function of the propagandist is much broader in scope than that of the mere dispenser of information to the press. The United States government should create a Secretary of Public Relations as member of the President's cabinet. The function of this official should be correctly to interpret America's aims and ideals throughout the world and to keep the citizens of this country in touch with governmental activities and reasons which prompt them. Yeah, that would be real fucking nice if people understood how the government worked or what they were trying to do in the world rather than just going off of fucking Twitter headlines. But, whatever. It is what it is. Such an official would be neither a propagandist nor a press agent in the ordinary understanding of the terms. He would be rather a trained technician who would be helpful in analyzing public thought and public trends in order to keep the government informed about the public and the people informed about the government. America's relations with South America and with Europe would be greatly improved under such circumstances. Ours must be a leadership democracy administered by the intelligent minority who know how to regiment and guide the masses. Is this government by propaganda? Call it if you prefer government by education. But education in the academic sense of the word is not sufficient. It must be enlightened expert propaganda through the creation of circumstances, through the high spotting of significant events, and the dramatization of important issues. The statesmen of the future will thus be enabled to focus the public mind on crucial points of policy and regiment a vast, heterogeneous mass of voters to clear understanding and intelligent action. Wow. What a fucking chapter, dude. Such a good chapter. This chapter was the reason why I came back and wanted to read this whole paper. God, it's such a good chapter. Fucking hell. I could just reread that chapter over and over again. It's like 30 pages long, but holy shit. It might be gaming time now that we finished that chapter. I want to keep reading, but there's only 40 pages left in the paper, and I've read more than 40 pages today. Let's go. We're gonna beat Radon, okay? I might actually just... Good enough. Oh, I need to get 3,000 souls so that I can level. Did rain just crash my shit? It started to rain and my computer went poof. For no good reason, really. Yeah, let's where's the easiest way to get 3,000 souls? There's like shit that I need to kill. I think next time I stream, I'm going to make sure that I lower the bit rate going out. Because I think that's ruining things for the YouTube stream. Perhaps. This is my first time back on Restream. It's my first with this setup, so... Come on. Oh, shit. Fucking A. Okay, now... Alright. We gotta get a parry in. There we are. Wild. That was almost enough to level me. I just need 1,000 more. Is that a guy up there I can kill? Easy, baby. Okay, we're gonna want to get... Oh, there's two of them. Fook. The reach on that guy. Fook of a took. Alright. Well, GG's, bruh. I've never really fought those enemies before, I don't think, but... Just go collect my shit and level. Fuck those guys. Really? Oh, that's a dragon. Let's go this way. Fuck that. I hear his big whale noises. Just had to remember that this thing was here. Man, this game is so good. After I level, I'm gonna try to beat Radon. I kind of want to read more, but I don't know if I want to read more of Edward Bernays or... start doing Ukraine again. Oh, I need 100 more. Rip. I should have checked. Is there like a random... I could probably kill some fucking birds or something. Oh yeah? Not gonna work? There might be some easier enemies over here that I can kill. Or just the same guys. Jump, fucking loser. Oh, we drew 2 of them. Okay. Good. Where'd the second one go? Oh, fuck. Yo, I didn't... Okay, nope. Sorry, bruh. Not doing that shit. Didn't mean to do that. Get me the fuck out of here. I don't want that. Sorry, bruh. Not playing that game. Not right now. Oof. Alright. What are we doing here? It's Radon time. If only I could get my little dagger to plus 16. That'd be fun, but I don't have enough smithing stones. Level 6. As ready as I'll ever be.
Before we begin, allow me to...
Oh, yeah, whatever. We got this. Oh, you know what? I should probably just do that fucking classic Dark Souls technique of never having to fucking pull the lever and wait for the elevator. Not that when you die during this boss fight, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to do that whole thing again, but... Oh, shit. Increased damage. Poison. Fuck, come on. How funny it would be if he one-shotted me. That would have been terrible. Bro, what? I haven't really been able to do shit. My fucking effects already wore off. Fuck me. Wasted the items anyway. You know, it is what it is. I only had one of those poison things too. I didn't even get to use it. I didn't even get to poison the guy. 1, 2, 3. Roll. Horse. Get the fuck away, get the fuck away. Okay, we're making good progress. Good progress, good progress. Half health, he's gonna do the fucking meteor thing soon. Okay. Now this is the thing he's gonna fly. And I'll get one-shotted if I fuck this up, but... Okay, good. Okay, those are gone. Good rolls, good rolls, good rolls, bad rolls, bad rolls! Fuck me. God, I'm so underpowered for this fight. Just because I'm not fucking upgrading any of my armor or weapons. Gosh. At least I didn't waste any items that time. Oh well. I want to beat him this session, so... We'll see. I still think that running to this one is probably the best, and then horsing to the other one. I'm gonna die. Whew. That was close. Gotta keep your eye on the ball, damn it. I don't even have my fucking sword out. Jeez. Okay, we did something good. Healing for safety. Okay. Where we at? Where we at? I don't even know where I am. Rolled too late. Nice. Good job. Oh god, what a waste. That was a good run, I think. I didn't get any bleeding effect on him, or... I mean, I don't have any poison things anymore. Boost stamina recovery. That might help. No. I don't have any good shit. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Roll. Horse. 1, 2. Fuck me. Well, 5th time's the charm. Jesus. 2 potions down already. It's like slapping somebody with a freaking peanut. Fuck. God, this weapon sucks so bad. I'm regretting my... decision to try to make this a run where I only use the starting gear. It's so arbitrarily stupid of me. Fuck. Fuck. Okay. At this point, though, I've wasted so many smithing stones on getting this stupid thing to 15. This tiny little fucking piece of shit. What a waste. A waste. I could have done that to any other weapon and it would have been better. Oh, fuck. Wrong button. 1, 2. And there's the summoner lady up here. This boss fight it's like any two hits without a potion kills me. Period. Fuck, dude, too early. Not the best. Not the best. Okay, let's do it. I did it again. Oh my god, dude. What a terrible beginning of a run. I'm just getting abused this round. And then one-shotted. Fuck. Alright. Here we go. We're doing it. Fuck, dude. I literally... Out of the air. That was dangerous. Oh my god. Okay. that person just got destroyed. Why isn't he shooting his balls? I don't want to attack him when he has those things out because they're all gonna fucking come at me. How the fuck? What the fuck was that? Oh no. No. No, God, why? God, what a pain. Fucking hell. Alright, I think I'm done for the day. Thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out. Remember to like and subscribe. I'll be back tomorrow to read more. We will be getting back into the Ukraine history, starting with the Russian Empire and how that even affects modern politics. And yeah, thanks for chilling. Thanks for hanging out, and have a good one. Peace.